In this video we're going to be discussing clairvoyance. I'm Charlie Kelly and this is Masterclass. So clairvoyance, what is clairvoyance? What does the term even mean? And clairvoyance is clear seeing. So it's a space within our mind that we use to communicate, to work with our spirit teams, and the communication that the spirit world bring for their clients or the recipients that sit in front of us. One thing we do as mediums is use clairvoyance as a seeing is believing mechanic within our mind. If we can see it and we can describe it and we can give it detail, then we tend to trust ourselves a little bit more. But there's a lot more to clairvoyance than we realise, or certainly than we first realise. We may see in symbols, we may see a texture, we may see something that means something completely different. And exercising clairvoyance is something that you're going to be looking to do while developing your mediumship, if you plan to become professional or take it to the next level and work with the public in some capacity. So meditation is a good exercise for exercising the clairvoyance. So we can go on a very visual experience. We can visualize a walkthrough or a scene that we are very familiar with, and by bringing in and making note of all the detail, it can sharpen our own clairvoyance. So if I was to walk through the woods, or walk to the beach, or walk by a bench, all these visualizations will sharpen every time that I take notice of the bench. Is it a wooden bench? Is it a metal bench? Is it even a bench? It may be a log. The trees within the wood, the bark, but what does that look like? The clouds in the sky, are there birds in the sky? Are there passerbys? All of these ingredients will help sharpen the clairvoyance through the exercise of a meditation as such. We can take a moment and we can visualize a scene from our childhood, or we can visualize the face of a loved one in that space. And while we do that, we can pick up on all the details, especially if it's someone we love and hold close to us. We may see a marking upon their face. Do they have facial hair? Do they have wrinkles? All of these things will sharpen the clairvoyance for the use within meditation, but also within the use of communication when we need to use it in that space that the spirit world will use. I do have a couple of meditations. I will leave them in the top corner for you, and there will be a video link for practicing or exercising the clairvoyance part of your mediumship. And also making note of all the places that you travel. If you are fortunate enough to where you can travel around the world and take in the scenes of the horizon. So as the example, I went to Marbella quite recently, and the skyline is very different to that than the one in Switzerland that I go to, and very different to the one that I go to in Italy. Immediately I can see by the landscape, or by the soil, or by the rocks, and I will know where I am if you was just to drop me in that place. Brazil was somewhere very different as well. It's immediate, it's a reference base for my clairvoyance, so I can usually pin down a location or be near the location just through looking at the details within the soil. So you start to see how in-depth clairvoyance can be. You've got to take in the detail of your everyday. If I walk into a shop, I usually know how many exits there are. I know how many people are in there. I will notice every little detail in my waking day, just normal as Charlie, because I'm training my mind and my clairvoyance to pick out those tiny little details within my mind and within the communication. And so naturally the subconscious will teach the conscious, and the conscious will teach the subconscious what it is that we're looking for while we're in the act of clairvoyance. So a very simple exercise that I used in my own development was one that I would walk to the shop. Something very simple. Loads of us, pretty much most of us, have got a shop nearby where we would need to go for our everyday things like bread or milk, that kind of thing. And so it will be a very normal journey, one that you would have walked a million times already before. And so I developed this walkthrough in my own mediumship, in my own clairvoyance, where I would leave my front door and I would walk to the shop within my mind. I would know what curbs were approaching, how the road surfaces were, the lawns that I would pass, the railings as I got near the shop, or the signposts, or the phone box, and the detail within all of these visuals that I would have. The cars that would be along the side of the road, to the block of flats that would be opposite, to the offers that are in the window, and then of course the interior of the shop. And so what I would do is, as I would walk up that road, I would notice maybe a new flower upon the lawn, or I would look at the chips of paint on the railings, or if a car was to pass me, look how many people were in the car. Were there any animals? Were there any passerbys? What was the weather like? What's the day like? Are there clouds in the sky? Which way's the wind blowing? Is there people leaving the block of flats? Are there people in the shop? And then look at the offers within the shop. And what I was doing was just adding to this exercise all of the time, so I could sharpen my own clairvoyance, because I wanted to see more clearly. I wanted to be more reliant on my clairvoyance. Little did I know that I would change that a number of years later. But in the early stages, because seeing was believing seemed to be a big factor in convincing my mind that the spirit world was real, this exercise just seems to help me move forward at a very fast rate. And my hit rate on clairvoyance, and using that within the act of mediumship, would be very accurate, because I was dedicating this time aside and using it to sharpen my clairvoyance. So I hope there's lots of things that you can take from this small talk on clairvoyance, and hopefully you can use some of the exercise that I left here for you to experiment with and try yourself while at home on your own, or take it to your circles. Let me know in the comment box if you do plan to use it or have used it, and let me know the experience that you're having with it, and whether it helped you in any way or if it didn't help you. Again, leave it in the comments. So until next time, until the next episode here on Masterclass, thank you, thanks for watching.